Okay, first the tools. Gonna need some kind of pliers in case you need to clean up any parts, a screwdriver for screwing things and hammering, and this here super glue. We'll need a fair bit of that. You can also use plastic modeling glue. Okay, we'll need some hardware. Some rubber bands, size 32 office rubber bands, standard stuff. About 8 M5 times 2 centimeters slash 20 millimeter screws. You can also 3D print replacement screws if you want the whole thing to be plastic. Files included in the download. And a simple spring. Anything will do. You can use stuff from a clicky pen or about anything that, extends about 2 centimeters when fully expanded. And the parts. We have too many. We're gonna do our best to do this section by section. Let's start with the barrel. Barrel's main section, muzzle cap, breech, barrel handles, which we'll glue on, trunnion pins, also glued on. And then the internals is what makes the thing go boom. We have a little rail head, left and right rails, sled, which will attach there, plug for all the rails to hand in, and then that assembly will slide in there, followed by this catch assembly. And for that, we'll need our spring and our rubber bands. So to get started, let's glue up parts that need gluing. First, check the fit is good. Give a little squirt there for baby Jesus. All right. You might want to hold that in for a second with your hand. If you're using super glue or plastic cement, it should take hold very quickly. Little dabs. Just want to remember little dabs. These just slot in nicely. Cool. All right, that looks aligned. Let's leave that to dry for a minute. While we're waiting for those parts to dry, let's put together the rails on the inside. So first up, grab both of these guys, attach them to the rail head. You want a filament pin there. We'll grab that in a second. But I'm gonna screw that together, and that should keep them all nice and tight. Forgot to mention, we'll be using some filament pins throughout this project. So I'll just snip off the rough end there. And what that'll do is make sure that when you need to pull this in and out of the barrel assembly, the rail head won't get stuck. Doesn't need to be tight, just needs to be there. Cool. All right, let's put the sled in there. Cool, that looks nice and loose. Check these rubber bands through. And that is the heart of this thing. Provide a longer sled in case you want less power, put less rubber bands also, that'll also work. Okay, so putting these parts together, I'm gonna take our rail assembly, take the barrel. Now you can see two little notches on the inside there, either side. You wanna line the barrel up with those, the rails up with those. Make sure that little hook is pointing down. All right. So, all right. Now, you can see these little holes. We're gonna first put our touch hole slash buttony thing slash whatever you want to call it, the thing we're gonna press to make it go boom, like so. Okay, take the frame, sort of place a spring here. A thinner spring would probably work better here, but I don't have one on me. So we'll just use this thick boy. Make sure the flat part of the catch is facing back. There's a round bit there. All right. And hold them together like so. And you're gonna try and use that to, there we go. Should just slide over the button like that. Cool. And we'll take the breech cap. Remember, the breech cap needs to be printed at something like 80% infill or higher. and as many wools as you can put in there because it needs to be substantially heavy to balance this. All right, and then we screw that on. Put the muzzle cap on as well. Screw it on or screw the whole barrel onto it. I don't know what comes first. That seems to be working. So we have a barrel. Let's do a quick test of that. It's working. Okay, let's assemble the wheels. Main piece is going to be this hub, followed all around by these spokes. Hub's going to have these little rim pieces marked A, B, C, and D in the STL files. These fellows are going to wrap all around, and then around them we'll go the tires. One thing to note is we're probably also going to use some elastic bands and some filament pin for this part. So first up, I'm going to squirt a little bit of glue in each one of these spoke holes. So I need to do all of them at once, and then we're going to plug all the spokes in. Make sure that they are bent outwards towards the outside of the hub. You don't want too much glue, but just a little bit helps. Cool. So then, chuck some of these, I think fellows they're called, and then you go in there. You go in there. And if everything prints correctly, should be able to just insert that there. I'll take a very long pin, we'll need that later. Insert that. There we go, just like so. And then a few more squirts of glue. If you're really lucky, you can get away without glue for this part, but I would recommend at least trying to keep things together. Don't be like me, and maybe use glue on the other end of the spokes too. Don't need that just yet, though. Cool, and that is the last one of them. Cool, so then we want to grab her. The rest of the fellows. Cool. That's actually pretty secure as is. Now to add the tires. So this part can be a little delicate. See these sections here. We're going to fill those with glue. A little between. Make sure the glue's not running all over the place. Grab you there. Now that's where these filament pins and the elastics come in. Take you. Yeah. Then we can insert you, much the same manner. There we go. Cool. All right. Cool. And I guess we just leave those to dry. All right, while the upper wheel is drying, let's add the rims. Very straightforward. First one should just kind of pop on. Don't be like me and use too much freaking glue all the time. That's fine. Just want little bits. Now, most of these will pretty much only fit, they all should only fit on one of these little ridges, so don't worry too much about putting them in the wrong spot. If they fit on multiple ridges, I screwed up. This last one really doesn't want to fit right, so you may have to carve it up a bit, but let's see how we go. Huh, good enough. All right, and that is one complete wheel. You'll notice I've been very lazy about trimming the brim correctly up here. It looks a little jagged. You can get rid of that with a stencil knife. Cool. All right, I'll do that to the wheel. Let's go to the next part. Okay, for the rest of these assemblies, we're going to be using a lot of these. I think there might be 80 or 90 in the whole cannon. They're 6mm pins. If you don't want to print all of these out, and they're pretty easy to print, just use about 6mm M-free wood screws. Those will just replace these pretty easily. Cool. Okay, our next part, the left-hand side of the carriage. We've got these two big parts, should be marked bracket left, a bunch of small chains, which I think are bracket hitch chains, bracket plates A, B, and C, trunnion cover, bracket strap supports, bracket straps A and B. These are very important, you need them. Bracket handle, bracket hitch, trunnion hitch, ramrod rest, and lane lever rest. Okay, let's get through it. Got a bit of a marathon for this one. So first up, let's make sure these two parts fit. Great, that's part one. Now, probably the best way to go about this is put on strap A. Grab the first strap support. This is marked strap support A as well. So just kind of and then if all goes to plan, that should fit nicely, like so. Now, again, if you're using 6mm wood screws, this is not as important, but can be good to use a little dishy dish of glue when plugging these bad boys in. Start from the top to make sure that's aligned. And then you might get a little bit of jammy action. Yeah, you should have a screwdriver for this part. These are kind of intentionally quite flash. All right, cool. That's sort of secure to begin with. Don't worry, when we add the trunnions, we'll get a little bit more security there. But for now, I'm just going to slide bracket strap B on, and then bracket strap support. Cool. Let's secure this while we're at it. You can use these hitch supports to secure this end first. And then as you go down, just jab your pins in there. Don't worry if you lose a few. You're meant to have a heap of them. And if you don't, you're doing it wrong. All right. Grab another one of these bad boys. Check them in there. Should be about flush. More of an about is ideal, but you know what? Results may vary between printers. I'm not responsible for the state you keep your workshop in. I'm just joking you. It's probably my fault. All right. In you go. More little pins. Why did I design it with so many little pins? I thought it was cute. You probably don't. So imagine the poor bastard has to nail all this crap to this one in reality. All right. That's the overall assembly for it. Let's keep going. Now this is bracket plate. Should be marked C. Got these little rings there. That's meant for pulling ropes. And then, yes, bracket plate B. Don't actually need the glue there. I need the glue. Actually, that's a whole other idea. When doing these plates, put the glue on the surface, not on the part. Probably makes more sense. Actually, did I put too much glue? It's not for me to know. It's not my fault. Okay, coming along nicely. Gonna add these handles. Remember, we only want a smidgen of glue at a time. This one probably good to chuck a few in there to align it. Now, these aren't actually handles for your hands, although they can work as that. That's going to be for the laying levers, which we're going to put in later. Later laying lever. Yeah, I'm very funny. Okay, going to take this ramrod rest. Now, on the other bracket, on this one, they should be reversed. So, the little divots facing backwards, because the laying lever goes on this side. Actually, no, we can just use the other one. Fuck it. It's okay. Should only be one ramrod rest in your files. Oh, in you go. Out of your home. Oh, don't be that. There we go. All right, most of the way done with this bracket. Oh, missed a pin. Cool. All right, the chains. These are going to be for holding the hitch, the trunnion cover on. So I keep calling it the hitch. I think I made that up. I don't think anyone calls it that. I did my best to kind of look up what all these parts are called, but I suspect it differed between militaries of the period. And unfortunately, being stuck at home for most of us, I haven't had access to the real good sources. I'm not going to pretend I really ever did much of the real good sources. Not running out of glue. Don't be like that. I need glue. No worry, there's more super glue where that came from. My house is never short of carcinogens. All right, we continue. Bostic super glue. Oh, fancy branding. Ooh, very drippy too. That's how I like them. Drippy. That's where I get it all over my hands, because I'm that kind of guy. Oh, wait, no, I want the chain first. Put this chain first, you'll see why in a second. Because this guy's going to go over it like that, and I'll make it harder to push in later. Cool, that's the laying lever rest done. You see one more dot, that's going to be for this plate A. Now, we're going to hold that in place with that screw. because the front half doesn't glue down. An oversight? No. Planned. I swear it. Too much glue. That's okay. Probably get one of those cool plastic modeling kit sets that where the glue has a nice spout. Don't be like me and neglect all additional tooling. Okay, leave that in for a sec. And that is going to be the left-hand side of our carriage. Oh, don't forget the trunnion hitch. Just that. Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right. Then your little chains over like that. Sorry, I've got all the old iterations of parts just freaking lying around here. There. That all fits nice and heavy. You can loop that in there when it's not in use. That's the traveling hitch. Ah. Bueno. Okay, we'll now do the right-hand side of the bracket, which is almost identical. I'll highlight the changes to you as we go through them. Tried to put smoothing when I printed this one. Didn't really turn out that nice. I don't know who's using that little service. It's dumb. Whole line up. No, I put it in upside down. Silly me. Must be the noxious PLA fumes getting to me. There we go. All right. Give it a little spritzer of happy juice. Oh no, too much juice. Don't worry, I cleaned the whoopsie. Grab some of our pins and jam them in there. Like an English soldier. Put it over your shoulder. You could actually glue this dovetail as well. I don't like to. Just trying to imitate the idea of it's really the nails that they're jamming all these iron plates and holding it together. Then again, this dovetail joint, of course, wouldn't exist in one which was carved from one freaking huge log. It's my priorities, and I'll do with them what I want. Beautiful. This Bostik one is very, very moist at all times. I'm gonna have to get some nail polish remover on my fingertips or something. And her symbol's a castle too. If I like, whenever I look up St. Barbara, which I find confusing. So. Continue with the plates, and this is where the differences start. So first off, we have these ramrod rests. We're gonna have two. Oh, that's right. We want to do the chains first. Oh, what's this? Oh, really long chain. We'll get to that later. It's nice to make sure all these chains are pointing in the same direction. Doesn't actually make a difference to the functionality. Ramrod rests. We're gonna put one of you up front. So yeah, on this side we got the ramrods, not the laying levers. So they are slightly different when it comes to their hooks. Unfortunately, when I smoothed this surface over, it actually kind of closed up these holes a little bit. That was very dumb of me. Don't use smoothing unless you know what you're doing. I certainly don't. Not that that's saying much. I don't really know what I'm doing at any given time. All right, cool. And then the back here. So take plate B. You'll notice there's now an extra 3 holes just above plate B. Whatever could those be for? It's going to be for this, the braking chain plate, which you can tell has a little chain embedded in it. Almost done. Get we used a lot of these pins so far, and I'm actually shocked and very happy that there hasn't been more of those kind of QC problems. Anyway, so then put on a second ramrod laying rest. Let's get this bastard in first. Oh wait, did I just pick up one of the bad ones? Doesn't matter. Maybe it was the hole that was the problem all along. That's what he said, but no, that wasn't the problem at all. Okay. Beautiful. Plate C. Should just nicely fit over like so, and that is pretty much the entirety of the right-hand bracket. Can't forget the trunnion cover. Yeah, so this, oh fuck, that was super, no, we're good. This is the braking chain. That's going to be used for the brake. Not really much more to it. And so that is going to go there for now. It's not really so secure while it's lying down, but you'll see how it tightens up later. It's going to be tight like a tiger. But we now have both sides of our bracket, of the carriage. Okay, once we have our brackets assembled, we can do the transoms. That is the horizontal wooden bars. We have transom piece A, all the front, which is also going to act as a pivot point for the elevation board the cannon sits on, which will be elevated with this screw and the associated elevation bracket. Got transom B, which will be inserted there. And finally, transom C at the back, where we're going to have some of these delicious little laying eye levers, which we can use to pivot the gun. We'll show those later. And this little hitch pull ring. You get a little print in place, buddy. Again, my brim removal tactics were kind of lackluster. This little axle piece that's going to thread in there. And these two, which we're going to put on last, because these are going to secure the axle tree to these 2 points. All right. This is where we're going to break out our M5 20mm screws. Should have about 8 of them. Okay, first up, let's take one side, Probably best to just screw all of these in on one side and then do some bits and pieces and continue from there. If you have trouble with real screws, you could also just use the printed screw model provided and shrink it or enlarge it until you get a right fit. Unfortunately, different slicers and different printers and different plastic, it's going to be hard to get the exact right fit you need. There's also some space for some pins on the other side. That's kind of optional. It's really decorative. I think in the actual cannons, these are just nailed on the inside, not screwed in from the outside. I've forgotten. I think most illustrations should give you a very quick answer, though. Cool, that's inserted nicely there. Let's actually see if I can get those pins in there. I think I didn't clear the holes, so because I printed it on supports. Ah, that just went in really tight. You could probably even skip the glue. This is printed vertically, actually, so be delicate with this part. You don't accidentally break that section. Yep, be very delicate as I proceed to use the screwdriver. No, I didn't remove the supports in there. You know what? I'm going to be lazy. None the wiser. Okay. Take this section. Of course, I'm getting super glue everywhere because I'm very clever. Have I covered all these? Let's put all the errant super glues to the side. Sorry, I got a tiny little workspace here. Oh, no. And we're good. Finally, section C. Now, there's actually two ends to this. Make sure the square hole is facing out. Okay, that's all of one side of these screwed in. So there'll be a few things we need to now take care of. One, now we are going to put in the elevation board. Good. And then the elevation screw. Cool. All right. Let's screw in the other side. So it should, if all has gone well, neatly slot in. This is why I didn't really need to glue this section, because the real strength comes from these horizontal transoms. Cool. All right. Let's get these screws in. Careful not to lay it on its side too hard. I'm pretty sure these are quite sturdy, but you don't want to be leaning on them. Okay, now we have a really rigid, zoom out a bit, carriage. All right, now we're just gonna add a few little extra bits and bobs. Now this is why we keep our pliers handy. This guy appears to have had a little bit of a blobbing incident. So yeah, when printing with black PLA, don't be surprised if you get some weird behaviors. Unfortunately, the stuff is a little more temperature sensitive than normal. Cool. All right. All right, this is done. All right, I'm going to use this little print in place pulling eye. I believe that would have been connecting this to the carriage. Oh, wow, yeah, that ball bend just did a number. Okay, when I put the files out, I'm gonna make sure there's a little bit more leeway there. Cool. Nah, screwed up that print. That's fine. I'll leave that for now. What we do, I'll get a chance to put in the rest of these parts. Sorry, again, I just did not remove the brim. So these are the transom C laying eyes. And we're gonna assemble the laying levers in a little bit. You can hear what all this laying's been all about. There you go. Get in your own. All right. I'll make a few more parts for that. A bucket hook for holding a bucket. That's super important when you have a cannon, to have a bucket. Because you never know what you're going to need to put in your bucket. Just kidding, it's for swabbing. It's a really good reason to have a bucket. Swabbing? How can you swap without a bucket? All right, see, it's gonna fit over there. Pin just goes on like so. Really hope I overestimated how many screws you need. I thought you needed like 90, but maybe it's closer to 60. I'll do a proper count later. Okay. Piece resistance. The axle tree. Now, there is a right and a wrong way to do it. You can see these aren't actually parallel, they are pointing inwards. So you want to make sure you get that right. So just slot in there. You can, if you got it right, they should be kind of flush on the inside. Once that's nice and secure, we add our axle tree straps. This is probably a really good candidate for using your 6mm wood screws instead of these pins, just so you can take this back off easily. Either way though, works fine. And that about does it for the carriage. Let's pull it all together. Okay, we're at the final steps of the carriage. We now have our assembled brackets and axletree. And then we have our wheels. Glue should have dried on them by now. We have some little hooks. These pins. Gonna need those trunnion covers for later. And the braking chain from earlier. So, let's get started. Okay, let's get the wheels on. Cool. Oh, that was easy. Take these hooks. Should be pointing that way. Slot that over. Put a pin in it. There we go. Make sure the wheel still runs freely. If it doesn't, sand something down. Really running out of space on this desk here. Put our overhook on it. And then full pin. Cool. By the way, that's what this is for. Our braking chain. Loops through there. Attaches yonder. And then back on up itself. And yeah, that's a safety feature. Okay, we're going to finish up with the accessories. So for that, we got these 4 laying levers. Some eyes that are going to attach to the back of them. 2 Cassian levers, and the Cassian is going to hold our ammunition. So that's its body, its lid, some little straps to go on it. We got the rammer and the worm. This is supposed to be the sponge. It's hard plastic, kind of like a handhold there. And the bucket. Can't forget your swabbing bucket. And that has a handle and a lid. Need both those things. Let's actually start with the bucket. Bucket. Now the Cassian. You can see these little points here. It should just snap on. And these levers should just insert like so. You can reinforce those a little. Then, on the lid, we're going to do the same. Cassian. And the laying levers. Okay. Gonna line them up like so. Glue could be a good idea here. Too much glue. That's fine. These don't need to be perfectly aligned. As you'll see, they kind of look better. Just kind of dissemble. Last one. Cats can have a little bit of glue. Horses can be a lot of glue. Gluing down little pieces of black stuff on my fake wooden rods. Huh. Come back here, you. In you go. Yeah, these filament pins are slightly loose. Might fix that for the release. But laying levers. Finally, probably more important than the other stuff, the ramrods / worm. Very simple stuff here. You take a fair amount of glue on one end and jam these down. Originally these were just friction fit, but it wasn't quite reliable enough, so we use glue now. What are horses for anyway? Do they still make glue out of horses? How long was that a thing? I don't know. Was it glycerin or glucose they needed the horse bones for? Did gummy bears used to be just horses? I have no freaking idea. Hamrod and worm. Don't forget to fill your Cassian with ammunition. By the way, if you were wondering what the deal was with these, they are just Nerf darts that have been cut in half, so to about 35 millimeter. It's not how you should cut them, but that gets the job done. All right, last stage. Let's put all the accessories on. Barbie's nothing without accessories. Okay. Ramrod and sponge will fit there. Cassian is back here. That's okay. Put you on. There we go. And then your laying levers. And we'll kind of thread onto this ramrod rest here. Should just fit all four. Finally, the cherry on top, the end of all things, this bucket. There's a little hook under here. Just gonna, there we go. Okay. Oh, gotta take off the parking brake. Whatever. It works. It's done. Thank you for your time. Hope you have fun with it.